I don't see Italy as being a huge crisis at the moment. Uh, Italy is got a number of banks that are in trouble, including the world's oldest bank. The world's oldest bank in Italy, the stock prices have fell to a point where they've stopped trading. I don't know if most of you have known this or not. Uh, Montepaschi, uh, world's oldest bank, and Italy. All of their banks together, there's roughly 320 billion euros of outstanding bad loans. These are called non-performing loans, NPL. Uh, they're talking about borrowing $20 billion right now from the Italian government, but that's the limit of what they can borrow. The Italian government at this point, and they've reached their limit once they've borrowed $20 billion. And there's 320 billion of outstanding non-performing loans. Now, these non-performing loans, uh, the bid price would be less than 20 cents on the dollar. And so this makes these banks all insolvent. Let's get serious. 320 billion euro. The BRRD uh, paperwork that was signed in the legislation does not allow for a bailout. They have to do bail-ins. They can't do bail-ins because in the Italian banking system, because most of the creditors would take such a hit that there'd be a tremendous resistance to it. So this is a time bomb in the Italian banking system that's not going to go off right yet. Okay, they're able to buy a little bit of time with another $20 billion that they're probably going to get. The timing of this massive problem is probably coming this spring sometime when the problem's going to really manifest itself. Uh, so what I have on the map that I've been watching is the French elections coming up in April. I think it's April 17th, maybe. I have to look it up again. I looked it up this morning, but there's a woman running that is something similar to Donald Trump in the fact that she's not uh, for the status quo, so to speak, and her name is Marine Le Pen in France. She's running. Of course, just like all the polls in the United States said that Donald Trump will never win, Donald Trump won. Any polls that they take now are probably pointing toward Marine Le Pen not winning, but then again, when it comes right down to it, the people are fed up and they're going to vote for change. And Marine Le Pen represents change. So what do you think is going to really happen? Marine Le Pen has already said that if she gets elected, that the French are going to leave the European Union and they're going to go back to their old currency. So we have this same movement that's been spreading from the United States to Britain and now to France. The timing of this French election and the Marine Le Pen getting voted in as the new French, is it a governor or a prime minister? Okay, I should look that up. But getting elected as the highest official in France, the timing is what I'm interested in. The timing seems to me to be right in a close relationship to the Italian banking system coming around to where it's going to need to be uh, reinflated. Um, so we're looking at a time frame of somewhere in around May. These two problems coming together, and you got to remember that Britain has already voted to leave the European Union. They've tried to stop the will of the people by taking it to the British Parliament and having the Parliament vote on it. But the British Prime Minister has said that she's going to honor the will of the people, and Britain is going to invoke, I think it's Article 50, which gives them a time frame for leaving the European Union. Britain stood out as like a sore thumb when this first happened because they were the first ones to want to leave the European Union. But now, with this movement spreading, it looks like it's going to be probably a lot of people think Italy next, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be France, and then I think Italy's going to be soon to follow. With these three strikes, it's just like in baseball: strike one, strike two, strike three, you're out. France and Italy leave the European Union. We're in for a major earthquake of a shock. Plus, you have to understand that Germany is getting tired of being uh, of supporting and having these pigs nations in the southern part of Europe sucking. There's a giant sucking sound on the euro. Germany's getting sick of this, and the people in Germany are getting sick of this, and they want the German finance ministers are getting sick of this, and they're starting to get this sentiment in place that that they don't want this sucking sound on the euro anymore. It's even talk of the euro splitting and there being a northern euro and a southern euro, but I don't think that's what we're looking at. I think what we're looking at is a general breakup of the European Union that could happen from this crisis that's starting and it's growing. So then in the German banking system, we got problems. We got problems with Deutsche Bank. This is almost ridiculous. I've watched the last few months the Deutsche Bank stock going up from 10 all the way up to 17, almost doubling. Deutsche Bank, the U.S. Department of Justice levied a fine against Deutsche Bank of $14 billion, which Deutsche Bank doesn't have. The Deutsche Bank stock went down to around 10. And now it's rallied up to 17 for no good reason whatsoever, other than what you call a Trump rally or Trump exuberance or misplaced exuberance. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous because Deutsche Bank is now settled, more than likely settled with the Department of Justice for around 7 billion, and they don't have 7 billion. Deutsche Bank doesn't have $7 billion. They put aside about 5 billion for litigation, for the total litigation, and they got more litigation coming. So Deutsche Bank's going to be in trouble again. They're they they're doing everything that they can do. A lot of these banks are doing everything that they can do to fudge the numbers. Outright, two sets of books. It's ridiculous what's going on. They're all a bunch of crooks, but they're going down. One of the reasons why they're going down is Interest rates can't rise in Europe. Uh, interest rates can't rise much further in the United States. Uh, they're going to have to turn the ship around. I said about a year ago, I said that over a year ago, a year and a half ago, I said that Janet Yellen would make her first 25% basis point interest rate hike, and I said she'd get away with it. And I was right. She got away with it. But I said when she makes her second 25 basis point interest rate hike, what'll happen is things will go smooth for a little while. And then I said what would happen is it's kind of like the old steamboat captains going down the Mississippi River. They used to yell Mark Twain, and they had enough room underneath the ship to move the ship through a certain area where there's sandbanks and stuff. There'd be a guy, he'd dip the rope down in, and he'd have a weight on the end of the rope, and he'd measure, and he'd yell the depth to the captain. Well, the captain in this case is Janet Yellen, and the economy is a ship. And she's decided to take this ship through a narrow passage. It's not only narrow, but it's got a sandy bottom underneath. And she's ramming this ship through, raising the interest rates. And I said that she'd get the second interest rate raise in, and the ship would still be going. And all of a sudden, the ship's going to hit bottom. And when she feels it hit bottom, she's going to yell back to the engine room to shut the engines down. When they shut the engines down, the ship's going to slide up on the sandbar. And then she's going to yell at them to turn this ship around, turn it around, go the other way. And they're going to obey, and they're going to try to turn the ship around. But if you try to turn a ship around and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, it spells disaster. And in this case, what's going to happen is she's going to try to turn the ship around. She's going to try to back up. She's going to try to get out of there because they're heading into a trap. Interest rates can't rise past a certain point. They're going to run into trouble, and Europe is a time bomb ready to blow in the banking system and also in the new movement, nationalistic movement against the European Union. And when this hits the fan, come spring and early summer, she's going to try to turn the ship around. She's going to try to drop interest rates back down. That's turning the ship around. And the second thing she's going to do is she's going to go back and try more quantitative easing. At the same time, you got Donald Trump stimulating the economy with infrastructure programs, with tax cuts, which are all inflationary. And also at the same time, you have Donald Trump's policies of 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 putting import fees and duties and stuff on, and this is going to prove to be inflationary because the U.S. dollar doesn't allow for free transmission back and forth for trade. And the people that have the U.S. dollar outside the country, and there's probably at least $10 trillion outside the country, are going to, because they can't perform open trade, they're going to bring a lot of those dollars back to the United States and kind of like a wave of dollars coming back into the United States. So that's inflationary. So you got all these forces coming together at exactly the same time, and a loss of confidence in the U.S. dollar, along with, at the same time, the price of oil rising because oil inventories are starting to drop. So this is creating the perfect storm. This perfect storm is probably going to strike sometime around this summer. and you're going to see declines in the dollar index. I'm looking myself for the dollar index to go around 80. Excuse me. Uh, this is very important. When the dollar index starts to go down to 80, these sharp declines are going to, uh, well, as the summer progresses into fall, things are going to get worse because the U.S. economy has been the stalwart that we've had since 2008. So maybe I'll do a little bit more on what's going on in the next episode.